What is your biggest fear when investing in Kenya? Is it cost runs, quality, timelines, titles? What if I told you that can be a thing of the past? I have a technical shield that will drastically reduce all the fears that investors in the US have on how to invest or put up projects in Kenya. But let me introduce myself first. My names are Carol Shirothuku, and my background is construction project management. I have over 20 years experience, 18 in Dallas, US, and I've worked with firms from AECOM, 3i Construction, and many more. I'm consulting in partnership with a company here in Kenya known as Amazon Consultancy Limited, Kenya. So there you are, we have a technical shield, and I'm going to introduce them to you. And this is about transparency, this is about accountability, and making sure that you have the right team. I'm going to start with the founder, Mr. Steve Rokwaro. Steve Rokwaro is a cost engineer, senior estimator. Welcome to the program, Steve.
Thank you.
And to my right, I have Babu Sunday. Babu Sunday is an architect, and he's part of the Amazon Consultancy group. All right, I'm going to start with you, Steve. Tell us a little bit about ACL Kenya and more about your collaborative program.
ACL, or Amazon Consultants Limited, in collaboration with Amazon Projects Limited, which is a construction wing, a sister company to Amazon. We have been in this industry for over 3 decades with senior quantity surveyors, senior estimators, worked with a group of architects and engineers over the years. Our business is in the field of project management, in the field of project quantity surveying services provision, and we've done this again, as I've said, over 30 years. We have managed many projects across public sector, private sector, and now we have come up with a program whereby we are pulling investors together, basically targeting small or individual investors who may not have all the big, huge monies, but put together, we are able to realize, we are able to actually ensure that people are able to own a piece of real estate in Kenya. And the biggest fear we know about the diaspora is, the issue of stalled projects, the issue of poor quality standards, and that's how we come in to bridge this gap, whereby we from the design, to the costing, to the implementation of the project itself, we ensure that we adhere to the highest level of standards. Okay. And we meet the quality that our clients would really wish to. Of course, we do have certain specifications that we document at the beginning of the project, and that's what you sign up, and we deliver that at the end of the day. And so this idea of pulling, pulling people together, is really to ensure that we don't go to the banks, which are very expensive in Kenya, as you know. So we are able to construct, as you pay, we then construct as people contribute to this fund. And once that is well managed, and we have a team of experts in the company, very experienced and senior directors as well, who would ensure that the funds are properly they actually directed to the project and not diverted.
Okay. Oh, well, so how does Babu come in as the architect?
As an architect, I bring in the technical know-how. Once this idea has been conceived, it's me to put it in paper so that my colleagues can also interview it and look at it and ask themselves, is this what we asked the architect to do? So as an architect, I design, making sure that all the principles that we laid out at the beginning, as Mr. Rekwaro said, have been adhered to. I also supervise these projects to make sure that we are maintaining those very standards that we talked about initially. And that is a critical role, as Carol has said, so that we don't lose it along the way. And also make sure that these budgets that we talked about, how are we achieving them? Are we keeping within the standards and keeping within that budget? Yes, so that is how I come in, Carol.
Okay, great. So, I'm the prefect of you two, and part of my job is to make sure that you're using software that is of high standards. And that's what kind of softwares are we looking at on some of these projects that you're working on with ACL?
Well, I'll speak about what we as architects use. Mm-hmm. We use ArchiCAD. We have the latest version. I know in the US, most of them do AutoCAD, but it's along the same, more or less the same software. Now, our ArchiCAD goes with time. They keep improving it, and we do have the latest software. So whatever we do and whatever we share with the other consultants, we make sure that it's compatible with what they use. Okay. Yes.
So as a project manager, my software, favorite software is Proco. I go between Proco and BIM. And Auto or Rivet is integrated. Somehow we integrate the two because that is so important for our investors to know that we have the latest software that we are using. And since we are bringing in those standards, seems like you are ready for whatever that falls on our plate. So
we do.
Yeah,
we do.
Great. I know you've got a lot of questions that you need to ask, the basic necessary questions, and those are the questions that I'm going to put to both Steve and Babu. And one of the biggest questions we get, and as a diasporan, the first question that I usually ask is my money safe? How am I assured that it's not going to be directed to other projects?
We have over 30 years of experience in the industry. We have seen it all. We have a name to protect in this industry. And how we run our projects is that each project is independent of the other. And we ensure that every coin that is put into a project does not get, put for the purpose of that particular project is not diverted. And it is in our best interest to ensure that the projects succeed. And because we also have contracts to safeguard. We have signed contracts in terms of time delivery, and we have to stick to those timelines. And there's something, out of hand, completely out of hand happens, in which case all the investors will have to be informed. But we really have to ensure that every coin that is intended for a particular project is used for that particular purpose. Now, because of our experience and we are also in almost our retirement age, these are not the projects that we rely on for our daily upkeep. So that is also important to know that we are doing this out of passion. We are doing this out of the love to deliver and leave a mark, as we exit.
Actually, we had a discussion with you, and I told you, I said, I've always wanted to present my skill set to the diaspora, because 6 years down the line, with all the projects that I've done here in Kenya, I still feel like I need to educate the diaspora people that there are good companies out here. There are companies that are hiring, as Babu said, to all the procedures, all the processes. They're actually, you won't believe it. Amazon, I've worked with Amazon now for the last 3 years. There are no shortcuts as much as the diaspora fears. And I'm there to enforce those. So this is a dream, this is a vision and dream project that we are embarking on. And I so much wanted to be, he's the vision carrier, but I really wanted to be with him too.
It's a shared dream.
It's a shared dream. So I jumped into it with and I said, whatever, sink or swim. So this is really, it's a good thing you brought that up.
Yeah, and again, what we shall be doing is to ensure that every quarterly we have quarterly reports, reporting on the expenditure on the project. So you should be able to see that with the money that is coming in, how that money has been spent on the project. That will, of course, then be able to tally with the project progress at every stage, and that will be open. The books will be open for everyone to be able to peruse, and we are going to be very transparent.
Okay. Anything to add to that, Babu?
Indeed. And see, when we talk about project management, part of the role of the architect is to do the reporting that Bwana Rikwaro talked about. We do have meetings scheduled during construction. And after that meeting, we sit down and prepare reports with photos and narratives explaining we are at this stage and here is the evidence. And if you compare to last week or last month, you can see the progress clearly. And with the advent of technology, people even set up cameras on site, can record this progress, and even fast forward. If you don't have the patience to wait and watch a week's work, you can watch it in 10 minutes. So this keeps us on our toes as well, and keeps our clients informed on the progress.
Okay, and that also leads now to the next question, budget. So most of the time, the Kenyan projects are always going beyond the budget. How can we enforce that this doesn't happen? Cost runs, that's the biggest fear for diasporans, because you as the senior estimator, cost engineer, you provide the investor or the client with a certain number in the beginning phase, and then 6 months down the line, here comes, we need this because of that. Even with the reporting, how do we enforce that this doesn't happen or is very minimal?
I think cost is a very important aspect of the project, which we have to really safeguard. One of the advantages we have in this program is that it's a design and build. So we are actually responsible. It's a one-stop shop where we are saying we have looked at this design, we have documented, we have done all the specifications in detail, we have priced and costed that particular aspect of the design, and we are going to implement ourselves. So it's a commitment from our side. So the responsibility is actually on my side. And so I will not be able to claim from my own self. So what I commit is what I'm going to deliver. And of course, this is backed up by our experience, many years of experience. So we are able to then cushion, apart from, very occasional or unforeseen events. Ordinarily, we should be able to deliver without variations. And this is, we are borrowing from our experience, we are leveraging on our experience. We should be able to, and the fact that we are responsible from end to end. So we should be able to actually deliver.
Okay, so most of our let me just say the beginner investor, the person who's never invested before, the person who's usually relying on their uncles or somebody who has done meyako, that is so common from the diaspora standpoint. Can you just tell us briefly, what does a quantity surveyor do?
A quant surveyor or an estimator or a cost engineer, for that matter, is equipped to first understand the design, the entire design, from architectural to structural to mechanical and electrical services. So all that, quant surveyor is equipped to understand the overall concept, design concept of a project. And by doing so, then he comes up with what we call a bill of quantities. A bill of quantity is a detailed document, describing all the works that takes place in a particular project. Right from the preliminaries, may it be in terms of insurance, may it be in terms of the levies that are supposed to be paid, may it be in terms of the site works, and of course now the actual work that goes on from foundation to the finishes, to the sanitary fittings, to the electrical items. So all that is captured in a document, of course against specifications, because again, projects are constructed on specifications, very specific, specifications of technical specifications. So that will be costed. The QS will also project if there would be any foreseeable variations or changes in the project. If there are those changes that along the way must be sanctioned, must be, investors must come together and say, yes, I think we require this. It could have been an oversight or something that has just come, in the life of the project, unforeseen. And we would then as a team agree that yes, it is important to incorporate this in the design and in the implementation. If the contingency amounts do not, it's not adequate, because the QS will have allowed for some contingencies that would cater for those important variations, then of course we may need to engage and see how much variation we can admit into the project. But ordinarily, the QS should be able to ensure that there are minimal variations, and not just the QS, actually the entire design team, because it's a collaborative effort.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, just jump in, yes. What the QS is saying is very true. What he didn't tell you is that they are trained to measure twice and cut once. Before we go to site, before we put the first foundation stone, most of these things would have been hashed out and settled in the design. That is why the design bit is critical. So to avoid these future overruns and mistakes, all these things are listed. We hash them out. We make sure that everything is in order before we go to site. And that's why I say this is a collaborative effort. Actually, in our training, we are trained on all this. We are trained in a bit of quantity surveying. We are trained on a bit of engineering, even philosophy, even how to deal with people. It's part of our curriculum when we are being trained in the university. So that all comes to play during our construction process. He knows what I've designed. He understands it inside out, the specifications. So when he's specifying the prices and the quantity and the quality of these materials, he has an idea what is in my drawings. Yes.
Okay. So collaborative effort, very, very important for us to, as investors, to understand. Now, we're talking about the structural engineers, all those guys, the mechanical, the plumbing, the HVAC, because diaspora, they are very keen on heating and air condition, which is, we have our green God-given all-weather-proof throughout the year. So we don't need that. In between, who is the person who is making sure that once the structural engineer tells you that he cannot do that, you have to go and tweak something on your drawings, and then there's the information that's being relayed to the QS. Who's doing this now?
Ideally, it should be the architect, the first person you run to when you need some change done. Mm-hmm. Because any little change has an impact on both the cost, quality, and even the final product. So if the engineer feels this column is probably too small and we need to increase it a bit, it goes to the architect adjusts his drawing accordingly, then we now pass all these details to our estimator.
Steve, I've worked with you on one or two projects in the past, and every time you're addressing the team, there's a quote you love to share with your teammates or with the group. I don't know. I think it's very important that that your audience knows, where you're coming from with that one. Yeah.
Those who are Christians, they understand about Jesus and the Bible. There's a famous Bible verse, Luke 14, chapter 28, that actually talks about quantity surveyors. And that's how you then understand the role of a quantity surveyor in the construction industry. And Jesus asked his disciples that suppose one of you wants to build a tower, would you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? So that gives a lot of justification to involve quantity surveyors in any project, and it calls for that kind of sacrifice. Otherwise, then at some point you end up with stalled projects, and that's actually the genesis of stalled projects, the absence of quantity surveyors. Carol, there's something else I want to talk about in terms of cost management and ensuring that the budgets are within the limits that you have promised. So there's what we call value engineering, and value engineering is done at various stages of a project. At some point you can do it at the design stage when the costs are seen to be a bit higher than your projections. So you actually collaborate with the team, the design team, and you all agree what areas to adjust in terms of engineering. Mm-hmm. What is it that you can be able to adjust so that you are able to fit within the certain budgets. This can also be done during the course of the project implementation, where you sit back, all of you, and see the areas that can be able to be adjusted without necessarily affecting the quality of the project and maintaining the value and the functionality of the project. But again, this is done as a collaborative effort between, among the design team members. And that ensures that this minimal or zero variations in the project.
Babu, sustainability. There's a lot of green going on for the last 15 years. And I've worked with some of those green initiative projects here in Kenya. It was a hard sell, but it's slowly coming to being, and okay, sustainability. It's very important for return on investment. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what we can provide here in Kenya, what we have naturally here that can cut a lot of costs within a construction project.
Thank you, Carol. Yes, indeed, sustainability is it's a big deal in construction. One, because all these construction materials are not inexhaustible. At some point, we will run out of sand. At some point, we will run out of these stones that we are using. So it's upon us as designers to think ahead. Where will we get the next building material? Luckily, the tropics where we are blessed with so many natural resources. Sunlight, almost 10 hours a day. Good weather, it's never too hot or too cold. So we plug into that. All this sunshine that we have, can we use it to light up our buildings? Can we use it to power some things? Our security fences? Can we use this free natural resource to warm up our pools so that we can enjoy the swimming? So we look at alternative materials for construction. We look at how can we power our building without depending fully on the grid. What if power goes out? Are we prepared for that? We also look at the long term. Someone might be scared when you are told the cost of, for example, solar batteries at the moment. But when you look at it in the long term, it starts making sense. Some of these costs are better absorbed at the initial stage of the construction than being spread throughout the life of the building. So yes, sustainability is a big consideration when we're doing our construction. Also, remember, we even get certified. Our project can be certified as a sustainable project. We have levels of that certification, and that makes it even more marketable. If we are doing, is it residential, is it commercial? Once this certification is in place, it becomes even easier to sell.
Let's talk about water. Water everywhere, but none to drink.
Yes, indeed, a famous quote by sailors. You're literally on water, but you can't drink that water. Maybe it's too salty. Now, we do have water. Currently, we have rains that are pounding the country. And we ask ourselves, what could we use this water for instead of letting it flow away? Now, sometimes we do recycle this water that we're using in the house. You ask yourself, must it go to the sewer system, or we can recycle it back, use it for gardening, use it to wash our lawns and even vehicles? So we put in place all these measures. Anything that can be recycled, we make sure that we recycle it, including the soil that we're excavating.
Oh.
Yes, we can reuse that. If we are demolishing an old building to put up a new building, what are we using all that material? So yes, recycling is a big part in our construction design process.
So we have an issue. I can't call it. It's not an issue because it's solvable in regards to sewer in Kenya. So we have individuals putting up their own sewer pit systems versus connecting to the mains for the city council. Say, for example, one of the projects that we're looking at with Steve is looking at. What do you look at in that when you come to a project and you're selling this project? What is the first thing you do in terms of utilities, especially sewer? Sewer is big in Kenya, and it's been on the limelight so long because of the current infrastructure system that we have in Kenya.
Yes, indeed. It's good you mentioned that because not all properties have access to the sewer system. So when we visit the site, once we've identified this is the site you are working with, the first role of an architect is to map out the utilities. Where is the power? Where is the mains power? Where is a drainage system? How does it work? Do we have a waste management system? If not, then we start factoring it early. Now, again, we go back to the sustainability bit. This sewer, now that we are not connected, for example, to the mains, can we at least try and recycle some of the waste water that we have. We do have what we call biodigesters. We can establish how many families we have. Then our engineers will estimate the amount of waste. Then we can know the capacity of this. What happens now that the biodigester releases some water? Where is this water going? Are we going to waste it? Are we going to use it for gardening? So all these things come to play at the very initial stage of our project. So we look at it and say, no, we don't have a sewer system. Or even if we do, how can we utilize some of the waste water? We call it grey water. Can we utilize it? If yes, then we tap into that.
Okay. So we're going to go to aesthetics now that we have you on that. I think, is there anything else you'd like to add, Steve, on sustainability and green element programs that which are very important actually for the diaspora?
Yeah, I think in our setup in Kenya, when you talk about green architecture, it shouldn't be seen as costs, coming with too much cost. Mm-hmm. In my considered opinion, because we have favorable climatic conditions, and it may just involve, design of bigger windows, design of ensuring that the air is circulating, cross ventilation, simple design techniques that would really ensure that the building is well lighted, is well lit, the building is well ventilated. If you are talking about, say, the basements, we could have semi-basements. So instead of using mechanical ventilation, again, you take advantage of the natural, the natural lighting and natural ventilation. So to me, I think unless we are talking about very complicated functional projects, in which case we are not, because we are talking about mainly residential and, say, office blocks, we do not expect the issue of green architecture to be considered in terms of cost element. After COVID, I jumped into, during COVID, and right at the tail end of it, I jumped into a project. And one of the things that the architect did was to make sure that there was some green space, literally a green space, where we experienced a lot of indoor, people were indoors a lot, especially people in apartments. And honestly, there was nowhere for them to go, or an area for them to go and see. There's no greenery. It's all concrete building and all that. And psychologically, it did hurt a lot of people, not even here in Kenya, but even in the US. At least Kenya, you can just move to the next, few blocks and you see green. But what kind of projects are you thinking of introducing to that green space? Is it atriums? Are they courtyards? Because that is so important now, more than ever, since COVID. So those are some of the elements that also I'd like us to include, not just about the utilities or whatever, but also the vision, the feel of a green environment. So maybe that's something you want to talk about for the investor to understand that these are things that we have thought about and how we're going to incorporate them in our future projects. Yeah. Yes, when it comes to, say, projects that are going to be, massive projects, particularly where you're involving several number of blocks, confining a huge population within a small area, then it will be very important to allow for such kind of spaces. When you talk about smaller projects, the space may be a bit limiting, but as we get to more comprehensively design projects on bigger areas, then of course I think we must of course allow for those kind of spaces. And I would like maybe the architect to talk more
Yeah, I
about
wanted to ask the architects, because I've seen some really imaginative complexes, apartments, commercial. They have very little space, but somehow they've integrated green into it, whether it's the rooftop, small balconies. So let's talk about that.
Indeed, I couldn't wait to address that. Not only are we protected by regulations, we are also regulated. We can only cover a certain percentage of the plot that you have by regulation. So that already gives you an idea that we need to leave some space for greenery. Now, we also get creative, as you said, when we are a bit tight, especially for urban areas. Urban areas, you can actually build in the whole of your plot. Now, that is where the imagination comes in. We do have gardens, as you said, on the rooftop. We do have mini gardens around the common areas, the staircases, the lifts, the balconies. We even encourage our tenants, the tenants themselves, even to take care of these flowers. Not only are these things pleasant to the eye, but they also play a role in purifying the air and playing that huge psychological role that you talked about. When you look at a space, you feel good when there's a plant nearby. So that is taken into consideration during the design, and also regulations. They insist that you can't fill up your plot with concrete.
Now, we're all wondering, while you're out there in the US, Australia, Canada, wherever you may be, and something happens to your project, and what's the worst that can happen? Maybe a legal dispute. We don't anticipate that in our industry, but we try to be very, lack of a word, careful that we don't go that far. And you're on the other side of the pond, and you want to know, how do we as a team of professionals make sure that we don't get there? So Steve, can you tell us just a little bit?
Yes, Carol, I think the issue of legal disputes aren't stated in contracts, and that's why there are clauses in the contract that envisage that, and they try to address it. We are going to of course ensure that there are minimal disputes, and how you ensure is that in the first place you come up with alternative dispute resolutions. You come up with ways of resolving issues as they arise and internally. So, if there are issues that are coming up, let's talk about the issues before they escalate. We will have a committee, or rather a way of ensuring that we address those issues before they get out of hand. Secondly, there will be a lawyer for every project. Every project we undertake, there will be a joint venture lawyer who will then be able to, first of all, come up with good contract documents, sale agreements that safeguard all parties. And of course, should those disputes then arise, he should be the first point of call to, first of all, resolve the issue before it goes out of hand.
Okay, I want you to also let the audience know about our organizations here, governance, NCA, NEMA, and all those, and the roles they play when it comes to disputes and issues like that. Because that's the first thing those are the first organizations we go to, in regards to any disputes, whether it's land disputes that come after.
Disputes can be of many, of various nature, but I think the institutions you are talking about, most of them statutory institutions, the problem may not be involved so much in the dispute resolution, internal dispute resolutions, but they safeguard the interest of all these parties in these contracts. Because if you have all the necessary statutory approvals, which we are going to be having in every project, and of course we are going to ensure that all the parties are aware that we have all these approvals done, then that in itself is a safeguard. It's a safeguard in terms of parties, because most disputes may arise out of maybe non-compliance of some of these requirements. So first of all, if the developer ourselves have complied, and we have also complied with the contracts that we have between us and the investors, then the disputes are minimal. Areas of disputes are minimal, because disputes arise out of a breach of a contractual condition or term. So to ensure that we have followed all those terms and conditions ensures that there's minimal grounds for dispute.
Let the people know what NEMA does and what it stands for. Some of them.
Yeah, NEMA is a National Environmental Management Authority, and they give a license to any development that takes place in Kenya. So that of course, there are terms and conditions. You have to adhere to protection of environment. You have to ensure that you don't disturb your neighbors. You mitigate against any issues that would be a nuisance to the environment and the neighborhood. So they would, once you show the enemy, you've done the risk analysis and you've taken care of the mitigations that need to be taken, then they issue the license to proceed with the project. And it is just one of the bodies that you will have county governments to give approval plans, to approve the plans for construction. You have the National Construction Authority to give a license to construct, again, because they regulate the contractors. We are registered with them, National NCA4. And so we have the license to construct, but each specific project must obtain a license before they proceed.
Anything to add to that?
You mentioned NEMA. Even deal with how are you disposing of your waste. This includes construction waste. So again, back to our
sustainability. Yeah.
So they make sure that you've ticked all these boxes, and they do regular checks just to make sure that you are adhering. You just sign the document. You are adhering to this. So they come to your site and find how are you treating wastewater. Say, okay, you're still good. Especially constructions that are near natural bodies of natural water bodies, near forests and such. They are very sensitive, and they make sure that they do their checks from time to time.
Okay.